Boys and girls, welcome to my first quick but detailed guide for Chaos Zero Nightmare. Today we're going to be talking about Lycon. Wait, no, Hugo. No, not that Hugo. I'm talking about CZN's resident furry bait, Hugo. Hugo is a 5-star main DPS unit, whose main gameplay loop revolves around generating stacks of Commence the Hunt, and then consuming those stacks to deal massive follow-up damage every time someone uses a targeted attack. He is an extremely free-to-play unit, who does not need any 5-star teammates, and is not reliant on Epiphanies at all, making him super easy to generate good save data for. When it comes to his cards, as always, the basic cards don't really matter too much. He does have Throw Dagger, which deals a standard amount of damage and gives him a 50% chance of generating a stack, which is decent. He then also has the standard Shielding card, which is the card that you will cut first in 99% of cases anyways, so it's kind of whatever. Now we can talk about his unique cards, and first up is his bread and butter, the one which his entire kit revolves around, and that is Hunting Instincts. This has the initiation tag, which was originally called Outbreak of War, which basically means it will always show up in your starting hand, allowing you to generate one stack every time an ally uses a skill or an upgrade card. Basically anything that isn't an attack. Now in terms of Epiphanies, luckily or unluckily, he only has one good Epiphany in my opinion, and that is his option 1, as this keeps the initiation tag whilst removing any cost, which is everything we want. The other options unfortunately remove the initiation tag, which basically means you can end up going multiple turns without having your core method of generating stacks available, which is basically hell. None of the other options provide enough of an upside to make up for that. This card is going to be your #1 duplication priority as well, so keep that in mind. Next up is Fan of Daggers. This is an AoE attack which targets randomly and will generate a stack for every unique enemy hit. Keep in mind that this attack itself is not going to trigger your follow-up attack, as it is not targeted. For a 1 cost which deals okay damage and can generate up to 3 stacks, it's a pretty decent card, but nothing to really write home about. When it comes to Epiphanies, numbers 1, 2 and 4 are my usual picks. 1 is okay as it's a simple damage increase, 2 provides the exact same damage increase, but removes the RNG aspect by giving a guaranteed 2 stacks, making it much nicer against one target. And then 4 is only really nice when you don't care about the generation at all and just want a bigger nuke. The others don't really provide enough to be worth taking, and I would personally always go number 2 if possible, then 1 and then lastly 4. Next up is Quick Fix. This is a targeted nuke which draws an attack card if you have at least 1 stack. Note that this is also going to trigger your follow-up attack as it is targeted. On paper, the targeted draw is nice, but in reality it's kind of just okay, because most of the time the cards that this card will draw are usually not worth playing, as his team's good attack cards are kind of locked behind skill cards which generate them. But this is not the worst, and when you just need something to trigger his follow-up attack, it's pretty decent. In terms of Epiphanies, 3 is going to be your best overall option, as it turns it into a 1 cost draw 2, which is excellent card economy, and removes the downside I mentioned earlier. 2 is simply more damage, and 5 turns it into a potential 750% damage nuke, which is okay, but draining all of your stacks is kind of a massive downside, so I would avoid it unless you really want to do some kind of meme build. If you do manage to get version 3, this is a great dupe target after Hunting Instincts. Next up we have DINGO Howling. It provides a standard shield and also gives us 2 stacks. Overall it's an okay card. The 2 stacks are really nice early on in chaos runs before you can get your 2 copies of Hunter's Instinct, but after that it really doesn't get used too often. In terms of Epiphanies, 1, 3, 4 and 5 are all viable options. Options 1 and 4 basically give you more stacks, which can be very nice for 1 AP, and 3 and 5 allow you to draw attack cards instead of the shield. My general pick would be 3, as it provides more value over a longer fight, and guarantees at least 1 follow-up attack every turn, which smooths out earlier rounds where you may have awkward hands and your team hasn't quite gotten rolling yet. Next up is Fixer's Approach. This is simply a 40 damage boost to his follow-up attacks, which is very nice to have. Mine is at 50 because of his Ego 1 upgrade, but yeah, this is a great card and you want to get this rolling as soon as possible. Lastly is his Ego skill Last Resort. This costs 6 Ego and deals 250 damage to all enemies, and also permanently buffs his Commence the Hunt damage by 30% for the rest of the fight. In general, for this team that he's going to run, which we'll talk about, this is probably the best Ego skill you can use, especially for much longer and more difficult fights. When it comes to partners, as always, the signature partners are going to be the best when it comes to pure damage. In this case, I believe Tina is the signature for Hugo, but when it comes to the free-to-play options and the options that most players are going to have, myself included, I think Rosaria is the best option, primarily because of her Ego skill. Draw 1 enhanced card. This means we have much easier access to Fixer's Approach, our enhanced upgrade card essentially, which we really want to get online as soon as possible. Now, obviously Daisy works very well as well, but the Ego skill is kind of just whatever, and then the very free-to-play option is just slightly worse, I guess, and it just does damage anyways. But overall, if you can, I think Rosaria is the best option, unless you have the signature. In terms of what to look out for when you're making save data, it's pretty simple. He has one priority in my opinion, which is getting 2 copies of Hunting Instincts, making sure that both of them have the initiation tag. This is the biggest quality of life and damage increase you can give to him, because you can play both at the start of the battle, and then for the remainder of the battle, you will get 2 stacks every time one of your teammates uses the skill. This basically means every turn, you will have no problem staying at 5 stacks and doing the most damage possible. From then on, you really want to make sure you have Fixer's Approach, and then from there, one of each other card is perfectly viable. In an ideal world, you would get rid of Throw Dagger and then have another copy of Quick Fix, as this is your personal big nuke and is the most damage card that you can play from Hugo. In terms of the actual equipment, the only one I think that really matters would be Second Method, which I don't have on this one, but that increases your additional follow-up attack, or they call it in this game extra attack. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the save data. It's very simple to build. When it comes to potentials, it's pretty simple. Now, as you can see, he was the first character that I built, so I made the mistake of investing too much into his basic card damage, but you really just want one here, and picking this up is really not a bad idea, especially early on, because Throw Dagger, as much as you try to get rid of it, it's going to be forced back upon you most of the time anyways, so you might as well make that 50% chance to gain a Commence the Hunt 100% with this, so that's a no-brainer. From there, you obviously want to pick these up because you're going to be doing damage anyways, it's nice to have. The crit damage and the crit rate you obviously want to max out, that's a stat that you really care about, and this is the one that you will want to pick up eventually. This one for now you can really skip because again, more Throw Dagger damage you really don't care too much about. So that's what you want to do for potentials, and it's pretty much the same thing for most characters, so there's not much to talk about here. Okay, when it comes to memory fragments, we're still very early in the life cycle of the game, so we can't talk too much about the stats in detail, but in terms of set effects, we're going to go 2-piece. The Blackwing set is pretty self-explanatory, 12% attack, exactly what we want. The Executioner's Tool, 25% crit damage, exactly what we want. And then Cursed Corpse works really well on him, because we'll talk more about it when we talk about the teammates, but Tressa is one of his core teammates essentially, and she applies Agony every single turn, multiple times. So this is basically a permanent 10% increased damage, which is perfect. In terms of the stats, in an ideal world, you'll have crit rate, crit damage, and attack. Those are the core stats for him. When it comes to each one, obviously ideal, we will want either crit rate or crit damage. You have to balance out your ratio there. For Desire, order damage is going to be slightly better than attack. And then finally, Imagination, we will be running attack percent. It's that simple. When it comes to team compositions, he is pretty set in stone. Tressa is his main enabler and sub DPS. She is basically perfect for him, as she generates very low cost recurring daggers, which in and of itself generates him stacks. And then the generated daggers themselves are used to trigger his follow-up. On top of that, she has multiple zero cost skills which give him stacks for free, and finally, the dot damage that she does is nothing to scoff at, usually doing hundreds if not thousands of damage on their own. For the support, to no one's surprise, Mika is the best in slot. Her low cost / zero cost skills generate him tons of stacks, Source of Water and her waves provide AP, allowing Tressa to use even more daggers, meaning even more follow-ups. Overall, this team synergizes so well, it's actually crazy. And that, boys and girls, pretty much wraps up the guide. Hugo is easily one of my favorite characters. His team is so fun to play. Once you get rolling, the damage is absolutely insane. So if you're debating whether you should build him or maybe try and pick him up, I would highly recommend. But yes, look, I'm normally a Hoyoverse boy. My content revolves around their games, but not gonna lie, CZN has me really addicted, so I wanted to try making some content about that game instead. So let me know what you think. Please do like. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.